Hey guys, welcome to the Powerful Man Show, where we help married businessmen save their marriages without having to talk about it, get unstuck, and gain clarity in their lives. As I like to say, life is too short for average. I'm your host, Doug Holt, with my co host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Now let's get this started. All right, Tim, we are back again. How's your day going, brother?
It's going well, yeah. We have Amelia's best friend and her three amazing children downstairs. So they asked me what time I'm finishing work. I asked them what time the kids would be in bed. They said 7. I finished work at 7.
There you go. There you go. You're learning early, my friend. And Amelia is obviously your partner for people that are newer to the podcast that don't know.
Yep, she is. For her
Awesome, man.
sins.
Well, speaking of your partner and speaking of men and women in general, a topic comes up. I know we've done a podcast on this before, but it's come up a couple times recently in talking to the guys. And let me set the scene first. So the guy walks in a room, right? Living room, just a typical scene, but could also be the bedroom. And there is his wife sitting on the couch or in bed, and she is just seemingly doom scrolling through her phone. She's got her phone out and she is just scrolling, completely ignoring his existence. Now, she may acknowledge him briefly, like, hey, how you doing? That kind of thing. But the guys are like, hey, how do I stop this? How do I prevent my wife from needlessly, in their minds, needlessly spending time on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, I don't know where they are, but on their phone consistently. And the guys feel like they're not getting the attention that they desire or attention they deserve.
Hmm. Yeah. I felt that at times for sure. There's a few things that I would suggest, and obviously there's more things you could do, but the things that come to top of mind for me. Um, the first one is excitement, right? Why should she get off her phone? If she has a choice of getting off her phone versus just sitting on the sofa and watching Netflix with you, then nothing wrong with watching Netflix from time to time. I love it. And if there's not really any excitement going on, any reason for her to choose you over the excitement and the dopamine hit of looking on the phone, then maybe that's part of the reason why. Second thing, for me, is boundaries, right? Amelia used to go on her phone when we'd get in bed on a night. And obviously, that doesn't really make for great conditions if you're wanting to be intimate. Obviously, not every night I want to be intimate. Sometimes I'm just tired, right? I want to go to sleep. Um, so I brought it up with her and said, hey, look, let's make a commitment to one another to not take our phones in the bedroom. So that's what we did. So there'll be times when she brings it in from time to time, and I just remind her, hey, look, we agreed that we wouldn't do this. If you want to break the agreement, I'm not going to take your phone off you by any means. If you want to do this, that's your choice. But we agreed we wouldn't do this. And usually that's enough. Sometimes she'll say, oh, you're so controlling. You're this, you're that. I'm like, cool, whatever. I'm just reminding you of the agreement we made for one another. And the other thing, what was the other one that came to mind? My mind's gone blank all of a sudden. I'll let you take it from here.
We talked about this on the last podcast. We did this. I thought it was really eloquent where one of the guys said, hey, look, why don't you give your wife something more fun to do than look at her phone? Right? Why
Mm-hmm.
don't you create a more fun environment? Right? We call it being the CFO, right? The chief fun officer in doing so. But also, I think another thing that a lot of guys will do is they'll demonize the phone or demonize the activity. And when you're making it wrong, right? Just like if you make something wrong for a child, you're automatically putting that person in a defensive position.
Mm-hmm.
You're judging them essentially, right? You're basically saying what you're doing is wrong and what I'm doing is right. So therefore you should do what I want you to do. And what you did with Amelia, your partner, was perfect, where you guys set an agreement, right? Now you're in agreement versus what a lot of guys have done initially is they'll be like, get off your phone, or oh, you're always on your phone, right? Or something along those lines. And they'll make little quips or little jokes about the phone and what have you. And that really, just can put their partner on their heels, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if things aren't going well in your marriage, right, your partner's going to dig in essentially. She's going to double down on that activity because she could see, even if she agrees with you, right? She's doing it probably subconsciously. Even if she agrees with you, she's going to keep doing it because she's not going to give up. To your point, what Amelia said, she's not going to give up control.
Mhm.
She's not going to give up control and power to you, which happens often, right? Because you can get in this power struggle, especially in an intimate relationship, where you're trying to vie for some sort of substance or control in any area, especially if things aren't going well. And if you're going to demonize the phone or the activity, then your wife most likely is going to double down on that activity, and you're not going to get the end result that you want.
Mhm. Yeah, great point. The other one I was thinking of earlier as well is validation. We talk about this a lot in the hidden motives technique. But let's imagine that you finish work, right? You're walking through the door. Let's say she's been looking after the kids most of the day, maybe even doing some work as well on her own stuff. Um, if you're in a place where you don't know how to validate, you don't know how to connect, then typically neither of you are going to feel seen or heard. Therefore, the exchanges between you guys are not going to be that connected or pleasant. They're not going to stack the positive experiences. We often talk about rebalancing the scales, right? When the guys come to us, often those negative experiences are stacking against them. We get to tip the scales so that we take those negative experiences away, clean the slate, and a few other things, and stack the positive experiences in their favor. And validation is just one of the ways of doing that. So when you're able to understand how to validate and you're doing it consistently, she's going to feel more connected to you. And therefore, the connection that she is getting from looking on a phone, she has a different source or opportunity to get connection from you. And more than likely, she's going to choose that. She may still go on a phone from time to time, but she's not going to be seeking connection in it because you can get connection from the man that she loves, who's there in front of her, and feel seen and heard, and talk about a day and do lots of other things. So she's naturally then going to be excited to see you when you're walking through the door, or at least be looking forward to seeing you when you're walking into the door because you represent something so positive to her.
Yeah, and on top of this, what happens for a lot of guys, they don't want to talk about it, but it's the fear of what their wife is looking at on their phone. It's the fear that is she checking out other guys? It's the fear that is she chatting with somebody else? Is somebody sliding into her DMs and or she's sliding into somebody else's DMs, and they're having a conversation and an emotional affair, or that or a physical one for that matter. And a
Hmm.
lot of guys have that worry, so they want their wife to put the phone down and focus their attention on them, which really comes from a super needy energy, right? You're basically telling your wife, "Hey, I'm not feeling enough. I need you to fill me up." Now, it's
Hmm.
different if you have agreements and you have boundaries and things like that. But if you're coming from this needy energy, right? We talk about deer, defend, excuse, explain, react, versus wolf, wise, open, loving, and fierce, right? We can go back if you need to hear that again from the podcast. But when you come with this needy energy, you just become another child to your wife, right? You just become
Mm.
another burden. And instead, imagine the scenario where the man walks in the room, wife's on the phone. There's two scenarios, right? Scenario one, the one most happens. The guy sees his wife on the phone. He gets triggered. Either he wants the attention or is just wondering what his wife's doing, or he's made the story up that she's wasting her life, right? I've heard guys complain about their wife just doom scrolling and, wasting away their day. So those three things happen. The guy goes immediately into needy and or judgmental energy, which can be felt a mile away, right? And then he's like, put your phone down. God, are you? Oh, here you're on Instagram again, scrolling away, or something on those lines. That's scenario one. That will almost always result in an argument or stonewalling. Stonewalling means she's just going to push you away. Okay. Scenario number two, guy walks in the room, sees his wife on the phone, triggered, notices he's triggered, right? Notices when I say triggered, you're having a visceral reaction coming to you. He notices that happens. He goes, okay, what else can I do to get my result that I want? Then go, hey, babe, great to see you today. What are you doing? And he sits down next to her on the couch, puts his arm around her, and more of a loving, inquisitive energy, trying to get into her world to find out. And you go, oh, she's looking at recipes on Instagram or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
Cool. What recipes you looking at? Oh, that's awesome. I didn't even know they had those on Instagram. That's great. you now get to find out what it is she's looking at rather than making up the stories. And you get a chance to get into her world, find out a little bit more about what she is interested in, right? It's kind of, was it Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, one of the seminal books recommended in business and personal development. But it's
Mhm.
always about ask questions about the other person. Instead of going from this judgmental, accusatory state, go in with a loving, inquisitive state and see what happens. And my guess is, guys, she's going to put her phone down and she's going to talk to you about what she's interested in. And when you
Mhm.
have that conversation, we've done a podcast on emptying the berries. Go find it. If you haven't
Mhm.
listened to it, it's a must listen podcast. We probably should do another one, Tim. But go ahead and empty those berries. And that's when you have the freedom to move laterally, right? And go in a direction that you want to go. And now you're giving positive reinforcement, right, to the situation that you actually want, not really negatively reinforcing what you don't want. It works the same way with kids.
Oh, big time. I'm just seeing if I can find that podcast episode for the berries. But it's not coming up. Find it soon. Yeah, I think that point of curiosity is a great one. You know, the importance of the alpha rise and shine and living from the inside out, the way that the men organize the territories, it means that you're coming from a place of fullness.
Yep.
Um, and therefore it makes curiosity so much easier. It's, deer becomes, instead of it being the default, it becomes the exception. And when you come from curiosity, it's way more attractive versus an assumption because you've been in the mode of deer, and that just it makes it way more likely. You're basically pushing her towards the thing you don't want her to do, right? It makes her way more likely to then start checking out the other guys on Instagram or wherever because you're coming from that place.
Well, you're no longer a catch, right?
Yeah.
You're already caught, so to speak. And that's not the energy. That's not a sexy energy. You're putting your wife into the dominant role here. And this is what happens with guys, a lot of guys, when they find out that their wife is talking to somebody else or spending time with somebody they don't like, is they try to squash that. They do it from a needy beta position, like a nice guy, and that backfires in their face every single time. I've never
Mm,
seen that work. It always happens, rather than the guys approaching it with a little bit more engaged indifference and upping their game, right? Making sure their stock is continuously rising and then making themselves the catch that their wife starts chasing. I mean, Tim, you and I see it all the time for the guys in the activation method. They're like 2 weeks into it and they're like, oh my gosh, this stuff works. My wife is now chasing me, right? We haven't had sex in years and now she's chasing me. And we just like, stay the course, keep doing what you're
yeah.
doing because this methodology works. And that's why we teach it. And guys get to be in that state, that method, use the same methodology we use in the activation method, the triad connection, use that in these situations. And then these
Hmm.
situations don't happen. Then the guy, he does this once or twice. Then he walks in the room and his wife is going to be looking at her phone, giggle like, oh, check out this new recipe I just found, put her phone down like, and now they have a conversation, right?
Hmm.
Now the new trigger, the new thing that happens is when he comes in the room, they talk and that becomes the new norm.
Hmm. Yeah. Great advice. Great topic.
Yeah, it's a fun one to reintroduce because it happens to all of us in this modern day. We all
Yeah.
carry our cell phones around. We're all guilty of checking them too many times. I think can't remember the
Hmm.
exact stat, but it was something like the average adult unlocks their smartphone over 150 times a day. Now,
Oof.
that's not the exact number, but it's somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Um, and I catch myself doing it, right? I've caught
Oh,
myself doing
yeah.
it while you and I have recorded podcasts before. It's just this habit. I know,
I'm
crazy.
offended.
So, guys, as we always say in the moment of insight, take massive action. What are you going to do differently to start getting the results that you want at home, the office, or in your relationships? I want to know. Go over to our free Facebook group and let me know. And in the meantime, stay powerful, guys. All right, guys, that's a wrap for this episode. But as I always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action. You see, there are two types of men that listen to a podcast like this. Those that go on from one podcast or show to another, just hoping things are going to change. and realizing that they're going to be in the same place month after month, year after year. You see, I was this guy, so I completely get it. You may just not be ready. But there's also a second man that listens to a show just like this. And this is a guy who takes massive action so they can shorten the learning curve, compress time, and get results to be the wolf. See, wolf is an acronym for wise, open, loving, and fierce. Now, ask yourself, which one am I? And just be honest with yourself there. And there's no judgment on my end, but if you're ready to move from deactivated deer mode, which is defend, excuse, explain, react, to activated wolf, wise, open, loving, and fierce, then go over to thepowerfulman.com/grow and go there now. In fact, I'll make it super easy for you. I will even put the link right in the description here so you can just click it and go over there now to learn more. Guys, in the moment of insight, take massive action. Go from deactivated to activated, because like I said, life is too short for average. And I'll see you on the next episode.